New works are stacking up one after another. It's awesome. So this time I'll be introducing all the noteworthy light novels that will be released in late March. This time I'll be introducing the latest edition of Kimi Zero, which was made into an anime last year, and a transplanted youth romantic comedy with a comedy theme. We will be releasing a lot of new works. In addition, there is a series by an author that you should keep an eye on in the future, so please watch this video to get the latest information. This time we will focus on Fantasia Bunko and Overlap Bunko, Dash X Bunko. I'm going to summarize the noteworthy works. Let's get started right away. The first one will be released on March 19th.
This is from Fantasia Bunko. Let's start with the new title of the series. First of all, I just want to see your smile. I've been looking forward to the release of this new work for quite some time. It's the work that won the Gold Prize at the Fantasia Newcomer Awards. As you can see from Mr. Fly's illustration, this new work is a coming-of-age story, but it has a very interesting theme. The main reason is that the main character and the heroine form a manzai duo and do a serious comedy. It looks like it's going to be a comedy youth love story. When it comes to work for youths, there's something like dissipation shoten in manga, but it's a genre that rarely seen in light novels. It's quite difficult to express comedy through written media alone. So the Newcomer Awards aim to explore that. First of all the changes of the clothes is amazing, and as a story, I laughed at a certain girl, the main character who works hard to make a living, and the senior heroine who is beautiful but has a recurring problem, meet and form a manzai duo. It seems like you can enjoy the love and co-like part where the distance between them grows as they get serious towards the end. Personally, I'm more concerned about how interesting the comedy parts than the romantic comedy. If you look at the official recommendation comments, it says that the material shown in the work is quite funny, so I'm not sure what it's like. I'm looking forward to see how it turns out, so I'll try this new genre. Next is Bloody Eye Recovery Journey. The design of the cover is stylish and nice. This is also Fantasia Bunko's new work, which won the Silver Award. An interesting point about this work is that it has a solid body. The protagonist, a former military wizard, and the heroine, who's looking for a servant, are in a camp. It seems like this will be a road movie-like story about recovering a magic eye that exceeds the limit. The key item of this work is a magical eye called Octo Arcana Oculus, and when you use it, you will have supernatural abilities. It's like a blood vessel item that the spirits expose in exchange for obtaining it, and it's up to the protagonist to collect it. Tomorrow is described as a new era of entertainment that combines the full-fledged fantasy of the Royal Roads Conference and the suspense of the realm. Is it really the Royal Road session? I'm going to ask if that's the case, but as long as it's interesting, anything is okay. Kare-sensei's illustrations are poppy, but I think they'll end up being rather rusty, so I'll consider to get it. Next up is this. This new work is about a commoner born imperial general rises to prominence by slandering incompetent aristocratic superiors. As the title suggests, it looks like it's an upstart fantasy, but I like the dark feel of the cover. The long title is placed in the space between the characters. The design of the table to be placed is also quite nice and long. Personally, I don't really like titles that are crammed into small spaces, so I think this well-balanced layout is really good. The main character of this work is a newcomer summoned by the Empire, but he's been demoted to the front lines. The story seems to start from the point where he's put away, and the front line is the exploitation of his subordinates. It's a dangerous situation with all the incompetent people around him, including his snoring and overthrown Showa subordinates. In such a horrible situation, the main character achieves extraordinary achievements and rises to the top. It seems like the story will unfold as a rising star. It seems also that the main character is the strongest magician, and he has a previous life that uses that power to overwhelm those around him. Well, it looks like I'm going to enjoy the development. By the way, I was thinking that the atmosphere of this work that I was wanted to become a shadow player, and this work got a recommendation from comment and this work got a recommendation comment from the author Daisuke Aizawa, so it's like a shadow feel. I feel like Kagejitsu fans will enjoy this work as well. If you like dark fantasy about upstarts, this must see new work. In addition to the series, Baron Muso, a young man who hated aristocrats, was reincarnated as a country aristocrat, will also be released. This is a new work of and reincarnation in another world. So if you're interested in this as well, please check this out. Next is the title of the sequel series in the lineup. This is The Wizard's Trump Card Volume 2. Yatoro Sensei of the Rokuaka series has released the latest edition of the School Fantasy series. The sequel is now on sale. The level of completion in each volume of this series was on a whole new level. As the part of the series, the content was super ideal. I feel like it fully incorporated the interesting parts of the Rokuaka and what was cultivated there. I was so excited for the upcoming story that Yohei Sumamoto's magical character. The story begins when he enters the school, and the story is based on a cheerful school comedian battle fantasy. However, the deep darkness of the story that can be glimpsed is impressive, and the main character and the heroine seems to be burdened with a very intense setting. That's right, especially the heroine is burdened with an unusual past, so I don't care what happens in the sequel. I have a feeling that it's only going to get more interesting from now on. So if you like the school battle fantasy genre, well, you should definitely read this book series. But the latest edition is about university students. The younger sister from her mercenary days appears before the main character who is in danger. It seems like it will be a slapstick development centered around the main character of this work causes the trouble for those around him from a different perspective, like Glenn. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the characters interact with each other, and I'm the type to get involved in the story. It's also a story that focuses purely on the heroine's past. I'm looking forward to the main story with the battle with the enemy organization, so I'm curious to see how it will be updated. It's a highly recommended book among recent fantasy, so if you're a fan, please take this opportunity to check this book out. This is our dating story, the Experienced You and the Inexperienced Me short story collection, Memoirs of Youth. This series has been gaining popularity since it was made into an anime last year. This time it's a collection of short stories, but it's a slightly unusual story. This series is also a peer romantic comedy between students, but the short story is a complete parallel story in which the main character wakes up one day and somehow becomes a teacher at an all-girls school, and the heroine becomes students. It seems to be an if story, but it's the story of the main own series. It moves in a very special way, so it was quite surprising that a collection of short stories like this would be inserted at this timing. I wonder if it's like a measuring the movement by inserting a collection of short stories. By the way, it's a parallel system. The short story is about 130 pages long, and there are also other 3 short stories. Since it's a collection, it seems like it will be a story that can be read in a relaxed manner, so it seems to read it as a break. If you're a fan of this series, check out the short stories collection as well. Fantasia Bunko has other titles as well. When my younger sister enrolled in a female knight academy, she somehow became a national hero, or rather I did. Volume 5. Bujin Legend, I was sacrificed, picked up by a god and mastered martial arts. Volume 2. These two works series fans will not want to miss out on the release of the new series. Let's take a look at Overlap Bunko. This time, we will be introducing the continuation titles that are sequel to the series. Here's what I'll be introducing this time. TRPG player aims for the strongest build in another world. Mr. Henderson preached the gospel. It's the latest volume of the Otherworld Fantasy series, which steadily accumulating function. It has gained core popularity with its content that incorporates TRPG-like elements. This is an adventure fantasy series in which a modern person who was a high TRPG player is reincarnated into a different fantasy world and aims to become the strongest character by making him full use of the character building ability given to him by an adult. Since it's a work that incorporates TRPG elements, the point of this work that it will be more enjoyable for those who actually like TRPGs. Also, the heroine who appear mostly monster girl type, so it's a masochist type. I think even people who like monster girls will be hooked on it because the author's fetish is why they choose to include monster girls. It seems like he has a lot of love for the heroine, right? This is the 9th volume of the series, so the 9th chapter is the finale. It's a maniacal story in which he searches for the organization that he produced drugs are dangerous. Another appeal of this work that it has a dark story. This time too, there are nearly 450 pages, so it's a really big volume. If you're a fan of this series, check out the latest volume as well. Overlap Bunko also has Volume 3, The Grey World is Colored by the Eyes of God, Volume 2 of the Maze Rave Adventurer, and the new series. Spirit Masters, who are thought to be hiding their true abilities, are actually always fighting very seriously. Volume 1 will also be released. All of them are rare A-type fantasy. If this work interests you, please check it out. Next up is Dash X Bunko, which will be released on March 25th. First of all, let's take a look at the titles of the next volume in the series. First one is Volume 6, which is about the story of how a beautiful foreign student who lives next door started to visit my house after I helped a lost little girl. It's a series where you can enjoy a romantic comedy about a love story between a beautiful foreign student and a local student, which is gaining popularity. It seems that the cumulative total of the series has exceeded the peak, and sales are steadily increasing. This work is about a heroine who is an international student. The key point that the two grow closer after helping their little sister. The story is very sweet as the two develop a relationship like husband and wife while taking care of the little sister. There are a lot of romantic comedy comics, but the addition of the younger sister element makes the sense of family stronger, which is a good thing. The story is solid with the main character having problems in the past while trying to overcome them, so it's a good read. Continuing from the older volumes where the relationship between the two changed a lot, it even more of a change. I thought it was going to turn out to be, but in the new edition that has been released, it seems like there is some kind of relationship with another heroine, so I wonder how it would turn out. The main work is a pure romantic comedy, so I'm not worried about it. You probably don't need it. If you're a fan of the series, so check it out, the latest edition. Next, let's check out the notable works in the series. This time, I'll be only introducing one new work. The title is Our Party is Over because the scum hero banished an excellent healer. This is a new work in the Party Bashment series, but the title is somewhat similar. I'm quite curious to how it feels like the story is about the side that banished Red. Also, the author is Masa Emoto, so that's a nice touch as well. Well, Emoto Sensei writes a lot of fantasy. The story of this work begins with a stupid hero banishing an excellent hero, and the party turns against him. The main character is the party's magician, and it seems like a pretty convenient standing point of a girl who is doing it, and she gets kicked out of parties. From that point of view of the Excel side, It is quite rare to have a female protagonist, as a genre seems to be a comedy fantasy, so it will be like the story unfolds while being swayed by a stupid hero. In Moto Sensei, works tends to have a lot of shoujo characters, but it has a lot of laid-back stories as well, so it's quite refreshing to see kind of full-on comedy. It's like a little different. If you want to check out the book about party explosion, check out this work. Dash X Bunko also has new series like the secret relationship with a nasty goddess that cannot be told to anyone will also be released. The cover features an eye-catching, beautiful heroine. It seems to be a new, youthful, lame work with a heroine who is part eye. If you are interested, please click here. Be sure to check out our work as well. Above that, we have now introduced the noteworthy works of Dash X Bunko. Next is the new works from other publishers. Let's check it out. First of all, this is the third volume of Witch and Mercenary, which will be released on GCN Bunko on March 19. This series has been highly praised as a post-fantasy series since its release, and I personally recommend it. This is an interesting adventure fantasy story where a witch is taught by the people around her, and a strong mercenary meet and start living in a developed area. As you can see from the illustration, it's a deep fantasy series that you can enjoy. I like the relationship between the main character, who works as a mercenary, and the naive witch, who is like a brother and sister. Well, it doesn't feel like a romantic relationship at all, but more like a guardianship. It's a relationship that makes you watch the story, and you live your life as an adventurer in a developed area. It's not that flashy, but it definitely is an interesting story, and it feels like a good old adventure fantasy. Therefore, the readers who have read light novels for a long time will be more interested in this work. It's a lot of fun to get addicted to. The latest book seems to center around the lives of human and their mistress, and it also talks about racial issues, so it looks like it's going to be a very deep story. If you like fantasy, you'll definitely want to read it. It's an enjoyable series, so please check it out. Next one is on MF Books, which is on March 25th. This is a special edition of Dahlia in Bloom, crafting a fresh start with magical tools. Free craftsman live from today, which will be released on the 25th. This time is an extra edition, so it's like a collection of short stories. This time, a side story that connects volumes 9 and 10. The story is told from the perspective of various characters. It looks like it will include 30 short stories in addition to the newly written ones that are exclusive to the book, so it seems like it will be a pretty detailed short story. By the way, the illustrations will be in charge by Mr. Shima, so there will be some illustrations. You may feel some discomfort, but the series has already been released. It has also been decided that it will be made into an anime. The original work is highly complete as a work in a fantasy, another work, so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of anime it will be. As for the anime, I don't know when it will be broadcast, so it will just now for some meantime is a section of stories. Let's sit back and relax while reading. Above is an introduction to all the notable works in the late March. This was an introduction to the new book on March 19 to March 25. Personally, I'm curious about Fantasia Bunko's Newcomer Awards this time. The quality of this year's Newcomer Award is very high for all labels, so what kind of content it will be? I'm looking forward to see how it turns out. What do you all think of this lineup? If you're interested, please let me know in the comments section. That's all for this video. Next week, we will be focusing on MF Bunko J, the last lineup for March. We'll be introducing the notable works as well, so please take this opportunity to subscribe our channel. I would also be happy if you could watch another video as well. See you in the next video. Goodbye.